Hi folks, welcome to Duncan in the Forest. I'm actually in the forest today, so I'm in here for work purposes, doing some extra weekend work, and I thought we'd stop and have a look at some coppicing. I need to do a little bit of coppicing today just to take a few more hazels down into the coppice rotation. So what is coppicing? It's a form of woodland management that was traditionally used to manage the understory in a woodland. It's strongly associated with hazel. Hazel is renowned for coppicing really well and produces lots of really long, straight hazel poles. Coppicing in its simplest form is the tree is cut very close to the ground on a rotation. And what this does is it encourages regrowth. It also allows a lot of sun into the woodland, which can be really good to encourage wildflowers within the woodland. These are some hazel coppices. These were coppiced, I think, about 3 years ago, if I remember correctly. And you can see we've got lots of lovely straight hazel poles. And we coppice these mainly for use for woodland crafts. Hazel is a great wood for whittling. It's relatively soft and it whittles really well. And it's easy for us to harvest sustainably. You can see this is quite an old coppice stump. These were a bit neglected, so we're trying to get them back into rotation. We've got one just down here as well. This one didn't take too well. So sometimes the hazel doesn't take too well to the coppicing. This one, unfortunately, the fungus has got to it. But we've got some regrowth here that may come back. If not, we've provided an additional habitat for invertebrates and for fungus. We'll go and have a look at some younger coppice, some coppice that was only cut about 16 months ago, if I remember. So we've got a younger coppice stool here. This is a hazel that was coppiced about 16 months ago. So we've already had 1 year of growth, and already it's closer to 6 foot tall. And if we look around in this woodland, it's a perfect example. We've coppiced it, which has allowed lots of light in. So looking up, because our canopy trees haven't got any leaves yet, it's allowing light straight down to the woodland floor. And in a month or two's time, because it's currently early February, we should have some of the woodland flowers coming up. We do get red campion in this area. So we're gonna show you some coppicing here. It is coppicing season now. We tend to do most tree work, including coppicing, in the dormant period for broadleaf trees, which is when they've dropped all their leaves. A lot of the sap has gone down to the root base, so the sap isn't running. Also, coppice is particularly good for nesting birds because it produces this rapid regrowth, this thicket. So we're not in bird nesting season. So it's early February, so we're still in time to do coppicing. So just a little bit about health and safety. Obviously I've got a hard hat on. Anytime we're cutting anything above head height, doesn't have to be really giant pieces of wood. Anytime we're cutting above head height, we always have a hard hat. I've already cleared the area, so if I've got any brambles or sticks that are going to get in my face, I'm going to clear those. If you are working with things that are around your face, brambles, sticks, branches, goggles are always a good thing to have as well. And I've got a knee pad because you want to be comfortable. And the implements that I'm going to use for cutting, I've got a pruning saw here, a folding saw. These can be used for coppicing. I use them quite regularly. Or you can use a bow saw. I've got two types of bow saws here. I've got your sort of the big 24-inch D bow saw. Not the greatest for coppicing because it's quite big. We've got a smaller 21-inch bow saw here, which has got this more narrow end, and this is perfect for fitting in between coppice poles, so you can get a better purchase on cutting the actual coppice stool. So I'm going to use one of these today. I've got a glove on my material hand, so I don't tend to wear a glove on a tool because you've got better grip with your bare hands. So when we are coppicing, we want to try and get as close to the ground as possible, and we want to leave a clean cut. The cut ideally wants to be sloped away from the centre of the stool. We don't want water going into the centre of the stool and causing rot. Now if you do mess up your cut, or it's going to be tricky to get a clean cut to start with, you can always cut higher and then tidy the cut off with afterwards. So I'm just going to pop the saw in here. we go. I'm just supporting the tree while I cut it. And there we go. It's still all caught up in the canopy at the moment, so it's not going to come down, but it is loose. But we can see we've got a nice sloped cut here. I've actually sloped it the wrong way for once, but I can tidy that up by cutting it the other way because we want it to slope away from the stump. But that's the good thing, is if you don't cut it right down to the ground, you can always tidy up the cut. But now I've got into this one, I can easily cut this one again. There we go. Not the nicest cut there, because we've got another cut down here, so I can tidy it up again. And we've got two nice coppice poles here, so in order to get these out, we've got to be aware that when we pull like this, branches can come down into our face. So when we're pulling coppice out, what we tend to do is we stand up, we face the other way, and we walk away so then our eyes are not in the way of getting whipped by branches. There we go. This one here, this one's not so good, it's already starting to die off a bit, but here we've got a nice straight piece of hazel, and we can use this for all sorts of bushcraft or green woodcraft, or shelter building poles or anything like that. And we'll process that in a minute. I'm going to go and tidy up those cuts. So I've tidied up the cut a little bit. In the last video the cut wasn't exactly right because of the angle I was getting in, so as I mentioned, if you cut them a little bit higher you can always tidy them up. It won't make a huge difference, but we do want a nice smooth angled cut away from the centre of the stump, which means that rain is going to drain this way rather than in the centre of the stump. So we've tidied these up a bit. Another thing you can do once you've done the whole stump, I'm going to finish these off in a moment, is that we want to take out any gunk from around the stump, anything that's going to encourage decay in the stump. And we can see, as it's February, we've got daffodils just coming up, and it's like some celandine as well just coming up. So not long now before the spring flowers will be out. Thanks a lot, guys.